Right, good evening, everyone. Dr. Stacy Holegger here. I am so excited you decided to join us this evening. I have a fantastic repeat guest that is here with us tonight, Dr. John Harmon. But before we get started, I want to just do a little housekeeping. So, I am not a medical doctor. Dr. Harmon is not a medical doctor. He's a chiropractor with a lot of other long list of qualifications behind his name as well too. We'll go over here in just a second. And I want you to know that if you have questions in regards to your health, medicines, or anything like that, please check with your healthcare practitioner. The information that we are sharing this evening is not intended for medical diagnosis, to treat you, prevent you, claim to make any cures, or any of that stuff, right? And of course, if you're pregnant or nursing, check with your doctor. You guys know the drill. But know that the information that we're sharing tonight is for informational purposes, and you will learn a lot, take great notes. But know that, again, this is LifeWave information. We're going to talk to you about this technology. We're going to talk to you about Dr. Harmon's research. And I am so excited. I had him on, it was earlier this year, last year. I don't know, Dr. Harmon. You and I have done several Zooms talking about his book, How to Reverse Aging, with the GHKCU copper peptide. But I wanted him back on again tonight because he has written another book that just came out this year, How to Reverse Aging, the Power of the Epitelon Peptide. Now, I think this is pretty cool because, as you're going to hear tonight, these two peptides are extremely powerful. They're in your body. We know how to activate them. You're going to learn that tonight. But you know what I think is kind of crazy, Dr. Harmon? You and I started texting about this. I think I reached out to you a couple weeks ago, maybe, I don't know, or so, and said, hey, can we do a Zoom? I want to hear about your new book and all that this peptide does. And, of course, we're going to talk about X39 and Alavita. And then come to find out, we get the email this morning that David Schmidt, the inventor of LifeWave's technology, is doing a Zoom tomorrow night for the entire company on X39 and Alavita. And I'm like, man, we are in the flow. We are in the flow. We are putting this stuff out there. I call this ahead of the leading edge. So this information tonight is coming to you ahead of the leading edge because we know that leading edge is right there. So Dr. Harmon, I'm going to turn it over to you. I want you to share. I don't know if you've got your bio in a PowerPoint. Sometimes you pep that up, sometimes you don't. But we know that you have an extensive background. I always say this man has 9 children and 26 grandchildren. What else is there to say? He's got it all going on. So turn it over to you, Dr. Harmon. Take it away.
Let's just say that we have to have Thanksgiving at the Hilton in a banquet center. Yes, we do have, between my wife and I, we have 10 kids and 27 grandkids.
Oh my gosh, 10 and 20.
Yeah, we had another one.
My speech.
Yeah, it's wonderfully chaotic at times, but lots of roots. You got lots of roots and lots of people, and never have to worry about being lonely. That's for sure. Love those kids so much. It's just it's hard to keep up with them at times. Yeah, I am Dr. John Harmon, and I did write those books. I was the one early on. Other people were as well, like yourself, Dr. Stacy. We wanted people to understand how powerful these inventions are. And in order to do that, I started digging in the research, and turns out there's a lot of research about these peptides. And so I prepared 3 different PowerPoints over a period of 3 or 4 years, and then I had some shifts in my own heart health that I'm going to tell you about. That's what made me motivated, because I wanted to know, how in the heck did this happen, that a right bundle branch block went away? So I started doing more research, and I thought this was not easy getting all this information. So put it in a book, you can reference it. We'll talk a little bit about that. So I'm really excited to share this information with you. I'm going to, before I start, I'm going to put things in Harmon perspective, Dr. Harmon perspective. I'm going to ask a question before we start. Why is it that people travel all over the world to get stem cell injections and infusions? Because it changes the outcome. It changes the outcome of whatever they have. How many of you have heard over the years, yeah, we had this degenerated knee. I went down to Mexico. I spent $5,000 for stem cell injection, and now my knee is good. Yeah, my aunt had Parkinson's, and she went down and had stem cell, and now she doesn't have it. My aunt had MS, and on and on and on. We hear these stories. People spend a lot of money to travel to get stem cell injections because it changes the outcome. So we're going to take a little jump here. So for the first time in the history of the world, a doctor can hold this thought in his head, her head, when making a prognosis. If somebody is using a phototherapy patch that in a roundabout way elevates your own stem cells. This person's going to be elevating their stem cells every day. I need to change my prognosis because it changes the outcome. So I want you to think about that and how powerful that is, even though we can't talk about it on social media. In fact, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about tonight, you can't talk about on social media. David is going to talk about Alavita and X39 tomorrow with a different perspective that's way reined in because of the FDA. So you get the meat tonight. So here we go. I'm going to do a little screen share. And kind of what I was just talking about, you know, this is about you, and this is about your friends and family, and it's urgent, and it's happening to all of us. Every single person on this Zoom is currently being subjected to destructive processes that will cause us to age faster and die younger. And now I'm going to put another thought out there that I want you to think about as we go through this. I'm going to ask a question. Are there people in your state who will die tonight from something they don't even know they have? How about your city? Maybe your neighborhood? Hopefully not your family. But there are people who will die who don't even know what they have. And that's why I think it's kind of, I don't know, a little bit silly when people say, you know, I used the patch for 3 days and I didn't feel anything. I said, you don't even know what you have. You're not even measuring it. So just know that you're going to have a lot of good changes happening. So this is urgent information that we can share with our family and friends. She mentioned, she asked me if I was going to talk about my bio. This is the only page I have for it, so I'll run through. The DC stands for Doctor of Chiropractic. The BCN stands for Board Certified in Neurofeedback and QEEG. That's looking at the electrical balance in the brain, electrical activity, and knowing what it means and what to do about the dysregulation. The ICP stands for ISS Certified Practitioner. I'm on the board of that company. They're the ones that make the the microcurrent neurofeedback. I have a BS degree in human biology, and I have a Doctor of Chiropractic. And I'm also certified in oxidative medicine that I don't practice anymore, but I used to do all kinds of IV therapies for things like alternative cancer care, Epstein-Barr virus, Lyme disease, and all of those things. We had some shifts a little while back, and I don't do those things anymore. Let's just say that one of those shifts has been on Dateline twice and American Monster twice and other shows from England and all over the place. We can talk about that another time. But that caused major shifts and motivated me to go start searching for things to fix my family's brains who ended up with anxiety, depression, and insomnia. So that's what I do now, called Clear Mind Idaho. And my screen is stuck. Let's see. There we go. Tonight, we are going to be talking about how to reverse aging. And no, it's not just that book. How to revert, really, truly, how to reverse aging. If I could get that to advance correctly. We're not just talking about this, getting, appearing older or getting older in age. It's not just aging. And it's not just going from fast aging to slow aging. We're talking about reverse aging and everything like this guy, age reversal. Everything that I'm talking about in this presentation is taken from my book, and everything in my books, everything has been taken from the research. The first book she mentioned, How to Reverse Aging, The Comprehensive Guide to Copper Peptides, was published a year ago, August. And then the next one, The Reverse Aging Power of Epitalin, that was published about almost 2 months ago now. This is what I dug into at first. So if you look right here, there are 13 pages of research articles, papers just in PubMed on the GHK copper peptide. And I was only going to read one little thing from the book. The use of copper peptides can be likened to turning a key and unlocking a realm of possibilities where aging is no longer considered an inevitable decline, but a continuation of life with sustained health and vitality. It suggests a future where aging gracefully isn't just about managing our normal decline, but about thriving well into our golden years and enjoying our maintained state of health and life experience. That's on page 275. There are also 13 pages of research papers about epitalin. So epitalin is the synthetic version of epithalamin. That's the natural peptide that gets elevated when we wear the Olivita patch. We'll be talking about that. So this is where part of where I dug into the research. And then a little bit from that book. The potential applications of epitalin offer a previously unseen promising future in longevity and anti-aging therapy. Its ability to address various aspects of aging, from cellular health to metabolic balance, from sleep regulation to skin vitality, from eye protection to skeletal strength, paints a comprehensive picture of what the future may hold. This peptide represents a shift towards more holistic and integrative health solutions, moving beyond symptomatic treatment to address underlying causes of aging. This slide really sets the stage for what I'm going to be talking about. On the left side, functional capacity. On the x-axis at the bottom is time. So we're up here. We got full strength, we're robust. We got vitality. Everything's going great. Something happens and kicks our hiney, and we drop down here. Hopefully you can see my pointer, but it's how prepared are we before this happens? That's what will determine if we get clear up to robustness. But if we don't, we kind of recover, but then we get hit again. And now we're into pre-frailty. If we get hit again, now we're down into frailty and dependence and disability. This is what I'm going to talk about preventing. We're going to give you some knowledge about how to do that. And most of you already know how to do that. I think I went too far forward. Hold on. Oh, we're good. Okay. So we're going to talk about actually planning out your life, your older life. What it will look like. We all set goals. We have some goals about marriage and how many kids and where we're going to live. We have goals about job and what we have passion for, what brings us joy. We have, are we going to work out? Are we going to have a good diet? Are we going to eat fast food? Have you really, really thought? I mean, seriously, have you thought about projecting out, not in a negative way, but have you projected out what it's going to look like? What am I going to be like when I get old? So I hope to kind of spark some new thought and maybe set some new goals about what that will look like. So I want you to look into a crystal ball. And there's about a second or two that you're going to have time to think about each slide. Your future awaits. What will I be like when I'm old in age? Will I even remember who I am? We have people come into my office who don't. They don't remember who they are, or they don't remember a spouse, or they don't remember a lot of things. Will I be meeting a new person in my house every 15 minutes? Or will I be able to travel? Will I be hooked up to machines? Will my joints work without pain? Will I be independent or dependent on someone else for my care? Or will I be independent and able to take care of myself? Will I be a passive observer of my own decline, or an empowered participant preventing it? Which do you choose? Why do we age faster? What are the actual mechanisms that cause us to age faster and die prematurely? Here are the top causes of early death. Can we slow it down? What influences do the GHK copper peptide and epithalamin have on these causes of aging and early death? You can change your future. The first topic we're going to talk about is telomere shortening. What are the telomeres? If you don't know what they are the little, think the little plastic caps on the end of your shoelaces. There has to be something that holds the chromosomes, the genetic double helix strand genes together, and then they have to come apart in order to replicate during cellular division. And they don't really look like this, but here's healthy, and here's someone who is way along in their aging, and the telomeres are getting short. Well, here's the deal. You can go to a lab and they can measure your telomeres, and they can tell you about how much longer you have, unless something happens, by the length of the telomeres, because each time a cell divides, a little bit of length is lost. There's a little another diagram. This sequence of bases does not occur in the genetic information. It's kind of a throwaway part. Each time the cell divides, you lose a little length, and then eventually you're going to have a cell that either goes into senescence and becomes a zombie cell, or a cell, or it dies. Next topic, genomic instability. So we have a waste disposal system in our body. Why? Because things that are byproducts of normal metabolism are harmful to us, and we have to get rid of them through the kidney or the bowel. And if we can't do that, then we're going to get rid of it through the skin. So chemicals, radiation, metabolic processes affect our genes. Harmful things in the world or the body can cause damage, and then the cell eventually dies or mutates. So what does the research say about GHK and how it affects our telomeres and our genes? How does GHK copper peptide affect our genes? It resets 4,200 of our genes to a younger state, and this has to do with repairing the damage that has occurred. Sometimes instantly, you'll have these people say, I put the patch on, and then all of a sudden I could do this, or I could do that. And you look at them like, hey, you're making this up, or you had a dream about that. But I think it has something to do with rapidly resetting genes that couldn't work, and then all of a sudden some function turns back on. And I really think that's what's happening, why things happen so quickly. Protects the genes against damage. So when you go out in the sun, they talk about sun damage and all this stuff, radiation and chemicals. Well, the GHK helps repair that quickly so that your genes don't have a chance to mutate because they're quickly repaired. And it helps to lengthen our telomeres, the GHK. So here we have normal genes. You get some damage, altered, GHK comes in, genes are reset to a younger state, normal expression, younger you. What does the research say about epitalin and how it affects the telomeres? So this is known, epitalin is known as the great repairer of telomeres. Just know that. So it activates, now here's the connection. So the Alavita elevates epithalamin from our pineal gland. I call it epitalin because the research was done on the synthetic version. That's why the book talks about epitalin, because they did not extract it from thousands of pineal glands. They synthesized it. It's the same for amino acids. It's a tetrapeptide instead of a tripeptide. Epitalin and telomere. So it activates release of telomerase. What is telomerase? Oh, it's just the stuff that repairs those telomeres and adds on to the lost endings so that we can lengthen out those telomeres. Helps maintain proper length of those telomeres. And some people will ask, well, does it artificially lengthen the telomeres? No, it does not. It helps repair the units of those telomeres that were lost during cellular division. Next topic, mitochondrial dysfunction. You might not think that's a cause of death, but that's kind of why we die. We don't have any more energy to run the show, including the heart. These are the powerhouses of the cell. Mitochondrial dysfunction. We have low energy production. Cells don't have the energy to work. They can't be a perfect little cell. My kidney, I'm a perfect little kidney cell. I'll help you with your filtration. Or a perfect little liver cell. Toxins will build up if that cell doesn't have enough energy to detox, to pump out, to get rid of the metabolic waste. Cell damage occurs. They can't repair themselves. They are now zombie cells. Just saying, feed me now, but I'm not going to do any work. The toxins get stored in the tissues, in the fat tissues, the liver, the kidney, the brain. This is why it's so important to have good mitochondrial function, because the cells, it leads to apoptosis, which is cellular death. So what does the research say about the GHK and mitochondrial function? The GHK copper peptide is a component of production of energy in the mitochondria. It actually enhances an enzyme in the mitochondria called cytochrome C, and it participates in the final production of ATP, or energy. It enhances oxygen during exercise. So here's a little connection there. People say, man, I put that X39 on and my workouts were crazy. That's because GHK assists with oxygen movement out to your muscles that you're just working really hard. But another thing that it does, that I don't have a slide for it, but I'll tell you about it. When you have a deprivation in your muscle of oxygen in your muscles, there's a whole cascade of events that happen. The GHK is involved in going out on site. Your body sends it out, and it triggers enzymatic, I call it poking of holes, basically dissolving a little hole in your muscles so that you can grow in new capillary growth to bring in more oxygen. If you're going to build bigger muscles, you have to have more blood supply. This is what starts the whole process of, wow, look at they got great vascularization and they win the bodybuilding contest. It all starts with GHK. A little side note there. Next topic, cognitive decline. This actually happens to be my area of expertise. I call it the slow disappearance of oneself. Couple of brain facts for you. You might not like this. Research shows that we lose at least 9,000 neurons per day because they're old and sick and we're not doing much. We don't, we're sitting around playing video games or eating really crappy food. We lose at least 9,000 a day, and this starts at about the age of 30. We only form new neurons at about 2,000. I've actually heard different numbers, 2,000 to 4,500 per day, depending on your brain activation by doing new things. This is what neuroplasticity is all about. So 2,000 per day, depending on the activation and metabolic rate. So I ask people in my office, what are you doing to decrease the loss? And what are you doing to increase the gain? You're going to find out that these two peptides we're talking about check one of the boxes on making new neurons and protecting the ones that we have. So there was a brain study done, brain mapping study. That's my QEEG. That's what my board certification is in. We're going to talk about that. So they measured coherence. And the reason I'm going into details, because I have people call me or send me messages from somewhere out in the Ethereum. I don't know who they are, and they'll talk about autism. They'll say, do you think the patches can help autism? And the answer is always, we don't treat autism with the patches. But I can tell you about a study that was done, and it was done measuring coherence with brain mapping. And that's a measurement of intersight functionality. So the interaction from both frontal lobes, right to left. The right hemisphere and the left hemisphere do different things, but they process similar information. So they have to kind of cross coordinate things. Coherence quantifies the degree of interaction and communication and shared information between brain sites. So coherence, just right, is normal. You got stuff going back and forth. It's normal traffic. It's not 5 p.m. and things all jammed up. Hypercoherence, when they're not functioning efficiently and independently, they have too much crosstalk. And one hemisphere will recruit the other one to process the same information when you need to be processing different information and cross-coordinating. I call it a traffic jam on Eagle Road at 5 o'clock. That's the busiest street in Idaho. And you'll notice when you're speaking to an autistic kid, they're very slow in their responses because of hypercoherence in all parts of their brain. The more hypercoherence someone has, the more autistic they are. So hypercoherence is too much. There's hypocoherence, which is not enough, and that is decreased cognitive efficiency, not enough crosstalk. Not enough. And this is what the brain maps look like. To orient yourself, this is looking at the top of the brain. The nose would be here. This is, we call a brain almost totally on fire. Hypercoherence is the red. Look what happened over 6 weeks. A lot more evenness side to side. The same is true with this one. This one was really on fire. Still here. And this is only 6 weeks. So there's still some improvement that can be done. But these are the results of the study that LifeWave did on the X39 using the X39 and measuring the effects of the GHK copper peptide. So yes, it does affect the brain beneficially, and we're going to find out exactly what the research says about the GHK and this copper peptide. It starts the whole process. You have to have copper in your brain to make the beneficial things in there, and it's the GHK copper peptide that transports it across the blood-brain barrier to even get it into the brain. And we have to have it to make neurons and synapses and neurotransmitters, and we have to have it to make BDNF. This substance right here is what your brain makes when you are doing new tasks. It says, hey, Dr. Stacy's been doing this every day for at least a minute. We should probably make more neurons so she can get better at that and have better fine control of that. That's BDNF. That's what neuroplasticity is all about, BDNF. You have to have copper to make it. So this was fascinating when I was doing the research. If you have a high amount of GHK in your blood and you have a brain injury, you have much less edema or swelling if there is an injury, and you have fewer neurons that actually die if you do have an injury. But the GHK has neuroprotective properties and helps prevent cognitive decline, mood stabilizing, and anti-anxiety. That's effects on the brain. Oh, but there's more. Beneficially altered the expression of human genes involved in neuron function by 50%. This is in the research. Alleviated neuronal apoptosis in intracerebral hemorrhage. What does that mean? That means fewer neurons died if you did get a subdural hematoma, if you did have an injury and had a bleed. And then I already talked about the mood stabilizing. What does the research say of the role of epitalin regarding the brain? So there's GHK, but there's also epitalin that has beneficial effects on the brain. Neuroprotective because of telomere lengthening. Neurons have telomeres too. So if they are getting short and you have more neurons die, what if that group of neurons are the ones that I remembered my mom? So epitalin or epithalamin has neuroprotective effects also. Regulates function of the pineal gland, the retina, and the brain, and these are all key areas involved in cognitive processing, including memory. This is why we increase copper peptide and epithalamin at my clinic because it checks more brain boxes. Next topic, stem cell exhaustion. Everybody wants to hear about stem cell exhaustion. We lose our ability to replace cells. We have reduced stem cell production, decreases regenerative capacity in our whole body. Accumulation of those senescent cells, zombie cells, basically. In other words, they ain't doing no work. They're just wanting to be fed. So one of the reasons older people get tired is because the cells that they're feeding aren't doing any work. And they can't get rid of them because I don't have enough resources to replace them. Impaired homing and migration. This is what really blew me away when I was doing the research. It's the GHK that acts like a homing device for stem cells and basically directs traffic on where they're supposed to go. So what does the research say about that? So GHK activates the production of pluripotent stem cells. We all know about those now, don't we? It directs stem cells towards damaged tissue. It activates genes associated with stem cell production. So let me put a couple of more sentences on that. It actually turns on the genes that tell your body to make more stem cells, the ones that are dormant when we get older. It kickstarts that whole process. Next topic, cardiovascular disease and stroke. #1 killer worldwide. #1 cause of death. A high fibrinogen level is the #1 predictor of probability of having a stroke, and you are almost 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke if this is elevated. We're going to drill down into that. Decreased oxygen to the heart muscle causes myocardial infarction. The GHK plays a role in that as well. This is what the research says about this stuff. This really hit home for me because my issue was in my heart. So the GHK actually inhibits a gene that is involved in the manufacturing of the fibrinogen molecule. I don't know if that's clear or not, but if you're making too much fibrinogen, your cells will get too sticky. We have to have a little bit in case we get a bleed. You can't just get cut and just keep bleeding and bleeding. You have to be able to form a clot. Fibrinogen helps in that process. So the GHK inhibits a gene that's involved in making that. GHK increases another substance called myostatin. The myostatin gene expression almost tenfold. Guess what myostatin does? It inhibits heart failure. So that's on the other end. Heart failure, you got stroke and you have heart failure. And it helps new blood vessels to form to promote proper circulation. Remember what I said about those muscles when you're working out? When you have a deprivation of oxygen called hypoxia, the whole cascade of events happen, and the GHK is involved in actually, with enzymes, basically eating little holes into the muscles so that capillaries can grow into it. So if that fails, guess what you have? you have a constant deprivation of oxygen in your heart muscle. GHK in heart health helps prevent blood from clotting too much, helps create collagen and elastin, which restores the integrity to the blood vessel walls, helps to prevent the oxidation of LDL, which decreases your risk of atherosclerosis. Here's what the research says about epitalin and epithalamin in heart health. So this is so anti-inflammatory. It helps decrease inflammation, and chronic inflammation is a key contributor to the development and progression of cardiovascular disease. All of this stuff is in the book. You will find it. Remember, there was a 6-week organ function study done with the X39, and after 6 weeks, the cardiovascular systems acted 2 months younger. So I did the math back then, and that is for every day you wear the patch, the cardiovascular system gets a day and a third younger. That's the math on that. Next topic, cancer. The big C word. Number 2 killer globally. The incidence is rapidly increasing. Global hypercancers have just exploded. What does the research say about this? Now, I have to tell you, no claims are made regarding GHK in cancer. However, this is what the research shows. GHK in cancer, it resets the programmed cellular death cycle in several different types of cancer cells. It basically turns off 25 genes that are associated with the predisposition to cancer in people who have those genes. This is the research. This isn't Dr. Harmon talking. Helps repair DNA so that cancers don't form. That goes back to how it repairs our genes and resets them to a younger state. So if they get reset to a younger state, they're not dysfunctioning. And then you get cellular division, and now you have a bunch of cells that have mutated. And that's cancer. What does the research say about epitalin in cancer? Again, no claims are made. This is what the research says. Telomere length control. It's all about controlling the length of the telomeres. It helps prevent cells from dividing when they have critically short telomeres, which could lead to mutations. It helps prevent genomic instability by helping maintain the telomeres to normal length. So the clock is ticking. How do you get GHK copper peptide and epitalin? In fact, I made a correction to this slide, but it didn't get onto this saved version. Infusions, injection, a good friend of mine, and he's on the same street as my practice. He's on the other side of Eagle Road. Dr. Michael Karlfeldt does alternative cancer care, and part of his cancer care is he does infusions of GHK copper peptide because of the anti-cancer properties. You can get injections, and I sponsored someone who teaches doctors on ozone therapies and all kinds of PRP and all of those things. She was giving herself GHK injections before she found out about the patch. When I told her, she said, I hated those injections because it stings like heck. Or you can use the X39 phototherapy patch or the Alavita patch. Alavita elevates epitalin. Here's a little slide about the X39. So any potential benefit or any benefit that we could possibly get from the patch, in order to determine that, you just turn to the research. Well, the study that was done regarding X39 showed that the wearing the X39 elevates GHK in the blood. You can't talk about that publicly. I don't know what that's all about, but the study was done, and it was the results of these studies that this study that was presented to the US Patent Office to get the patent for the technology. That's that slide. This is how they did it. Randomized into 2 groups, a tube of blood was drawn. Patch was worn for 7 days. More blood was taken at 24 hours and 7 days. Significant increase in GHK was found compared to the control group. How does it work? Well, we have these nanocrystals. I tell people, David Schmidt developed a crystal structure that has a lattice structure that does not exist in nature. What does that mean? Every crystal has a certain structure. That's why you can recognize them by sometimes their color, but mostly their shape, the shape of the crystals. What are they? You can tell what kind of crystals they are. Well, he determined what to put in the patch to refract or separate out the frequencies that you are emitting into your surroundings, and then refract that back into you. That signal acts like it acts on the same nano antennas in our skin that UV light does in sunlight, that signals your body to make more vitamin D. It's the same pathway, the same process, but a different pathway. The signal coming from the patch signals your body to make more GHK copper peptide. Whatever patch it is, it's a different lattice structure. So we put them on the skin. It's stimulated. This is like sunlight. Somehow we magically make vitamin D. Well, here's the process. You go, comparatively speaking, when you look at a diamond, you see all of these colors, but they're clear. All of those colors are in white light. The facets of the diamond refract it out or separate it, and we see it as different colors because it's different wavelengths of light. You are the bright white light. The patch is the diamond. It reflects some of your bright white light that we can't see with our naked eyes, but we do glow. Researchers figured that out, and it reflects it back into you. You are the power source. Bless Kathy Rodriguez Hart. She made this before she passed away in like March of 2020. And I'm still using her slide. We place them on specific acupuncture points because that's where the research was done. You can put it anywhere on your body. Some of the things that occur, don't say this out in public, activate your stem cells, but the research shows it does. All of these things start to happen over time. Even when people don't even know they have the thing that's going to kill them, it still benefits them by activating their stem cells and all of the other things we just talked about. We wear them 12 hours on, 12 hours off because the body stops responding to any light therapy after a specific amount of time. Yes, you can place them on a pet, a plant, or another person for the second 24 hour or 12 hours of the 24 hours that the patch will last. After about 24 hours, any organic substance that is exposed to high heat will start to degrade. So you get about 24 hours out of it. Your body's going to respond for about 12, and it won't harm you to leave it on, but it's not doing any good after 12 hours. Put it somewhere else. Lots of athletes all over the world. I'm not going to name any teams, but all kinds of athletes are using these. Our U.S. men's Olympic swim team used them in 2004 with Michael Phelps. Other athletes, the Olympics after the 2004 in Beijing, over 300 athletes were using these. This is actually really special to me because I showed this slide at one of the energy healing conferences. I think I was in St. George, Utah. And I told the story about this 6-year-old who got the fingertip cut off. And the dad insisted that the surgeon sew it back on. The surgeon said he wasn't going to do it because he said it's going to die. Your boy's fingertip will die. There are no capillaries connected to bring in oxygen and blood flow and nutrients. The dad said, I have this patch. I'll take responsibility. It died. That's what the black is. It's the black of necrosis. But the GHK, known as the emergency response peptide, rapidly infiltrates the damaged tissue with capillaries, brings in stem cells, collagen repair. This fingertip was saved. You can barely see a little indentation of the fingernail right now, but the whole thing was saved. About 2 years later, another person reached out to me about a little boy's fingertip that was cut off. And because she saw this slide in St. George, she helped that other little boy save his finger. So that's why it means so much to me. Tremendous benefits to skin. And you can see they call them liver spots. They have nothing to do with the liver. But it's the too much pigment from being out in the sun. That starts to fade. You can see right here in the cheek. The skin tightens up. You start using these peptides and you get better, you get collagen repair and elastin repair. This is a personal friend of mine. He had a Mohs procedure right here and he used the X39. You can see this spot right here is almost totally faded. I know you've seen a lot of different testimonials and before and after pics. You can go to startx39now.com and see all kinds of them. And we have thousands of testimonials, thousands on our Telegram page where you can get pictures and things. You've probably all seen this. First 2 days, 4,000 genes begin to reset. 6 weeks, brain becomes more balanced. It's not totally balanced. Takes time. Collagen, 6 months. You start to get age reversal. You start to get healing in your heart. Those things you didn't know that you had that are going to kill you. And I don't say that lightly, that you don't even know you have and your people don't even know they have. We need to reach out and save those people. So this 6-week organ function study that I mentioned has special meaning to me. This is actually what motivated me to write the book when I found out all of these things that happened for me. If you don't know what a right bundle branch block is, it has to do with conductivity to the right ventricle. If you have one, all-cause mortality goes up. If you have a myocardial infarction and you have a right bundle branch block, you're done. It just doesn't happen, and it's the conductivity, this right ventricle right here. So here's my timeline. We'll go through it quickly. I knew I had PVCs when I was in high school. I didn't know what they were. My heart just fluttered. It didn't flutter when I was running, so I ran a lot. In my 20s, I used to run 40 to 50 miles a week, but it felt good. I didn't have the heart thing going on. I started using the patches in April 2020. I had a knee replacement coming up in August. I had a stress echo done because the PVCs got really rhythmic and it scared me. It was different. Something changed and I thought it was bad. It was actually good. First stress echo done August 2020. 2 weeks later, PVCs were gone. And then I got this report back, right bundle branch block right there. Shows sinus rhythm with a right bundle branch block. And then I had another one done a year and a half later, and I'm going to zoom in right on this little spot on the paper. Right bundle branch block, no longer present. 2 different doctors have said they've never seen one go away. I started thinking, how the heck did that happen? And then I started really digging, and I got this test. How do you think my wife felt, and I felt, and my kids and my grandkids, knowing that grandpa doesn't have that anymore? It was like, it was a huge deal. Very, very thankful. My hair was really gray. Started getting changes. This was last summer. My hair started turning brown from back to front. And somebody actually had to tell me that because I didn't see it, because I just look at the front. There is a lot more to these peptides than I have talked about tonight. A lot more. But as you can see, we're just a few minutes. We have a few minutes left. And I encourage you to do your digging. You don't want to share this information with just everybody because you'll get glazed looks on their face. They'll go, this is too hard. I can't do that. Really, truly, only share it with people who want to know about the details and ask them. Say, are you someone who really likes to know all the details? And if they say, no, I just want to know that it works, or I just want my anxiety to go away, or just whatever it is. But now you have this knowledge that you don't need to use with everyone. However, here's what it does. We all have the testimonials. We've seen them. We come about this with authenticity. Authenticity has the highest vibration of every emotion. But now, if you have all the knowledge about the research, guess what? You can come out with even more authenticity and knowledge and power and knowing what's in the background or what is known about in the research about these peptides. And I hope that this helps you in your journey of explaining and sharing with those people who are going to die from something they do not know they have. And I'm going to pause after that. They might be close to you. You are not at the whim of external forces. You are the force. Our bodies are the force that powers the patch. And I don't know about you, but I know what I want to be when I get older. That's younger. If you have any interest in getting the books, if you go scan this with your phone, just turn on your camera and you can scan this. It takes you to a website. You can actually get a free download of the chapter summary. There's actually quite a bit of information in the chapter summary and a link to a presentation just like this that I did up in the state of Washington a couple of months ago. There's a recording link to that. This is the one to Epitalin. You can get that off of Amazon. And here's both of them again, if you're interested in getting those books and really digging in. I gave you some highlights, but there's a lot more. So, Dr. Stacy, we have 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to, if there are questions in the chat or anything that we have time for, whatever you want to do.
So first off, they want to know what patches were you using that first year and a half that changed those MRI results, those path results?
Stress echocardiograms is what they were. At first I was only using the X39 because I didn't even know about the other patches. We were just kind of uneducated back then. And that's why we started the Doctor and Science call. And then Stacy came on board and she jumped in on that. And you know what she's done since then. But I started using all of them. When I say all of them, I'm not someone who has pain. So I've rarely had to use the ice wave. I used it instead of opioids in my knee replacement. I hate opioids. I hate anything that makes me feel so weird and all constipated, if you know what I mean. So I used ice wave for that, but I used the rest of them, carnosine, Aeon. One thing about the Aeon I want to tell you, if you have an acute injury or surgery, you don't want to use the Aeon during the acute phase, like 5 to 7 days, because you're supposed to get inflamed to draw in all of the reparative components. But after 5 to 7 days, you want to get the swelling down. That's good, but not right after a surgery. You want to let that kind of ride for a little bit, but definitely X39, ice wave, all of this stuff. And people will ask about ice wave. They'll say, well, if it blocks the pain, am I going to damage myself? No. A lot of pain is just a memory of pain. It's a pathway that's been firing so long that now your body thinks it's normal and now you're just in pain. But you can tell someone, we're going to help change the energy pattern in your body to eliminate the pain, and we're going to use this X39. So I'm going to get rid of this screen now, unless somebody wants it. If they want it back up, I can put it back up. But we're going to use this X39 to restore and regenerate the cause of your pain. We're going to help block it with this Aeon and this ice wave. And this is really helpful for when you're talking to doctors too. How do you talk to your patients? Well, tell them we're going to get rid of your pain really quickly. by changing energy patterns, and we're going to restore it with this X39. You want to use this long term. I hope that answered the question. It kind of, but I was using all of them towards the end.
Okay. So definitely X39, Eon, Carnosine. We didn't have X49 back then.
We did not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, X49 came later. But the X49, you know, I'm 70. And so when you can use that X49 and go out I have a gym in my house, and I can go out there and work out hard for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and not even get sore, and actually build a little muscle. That's a big deal, because we get sarcopenia as we age. We lose muscle mass. Now our metabolism goes down. We're not hungry very much because we don't have much stuff to feed just sitting there. So it's a big deal. X49 is good. Do you see any other like repeating questions out there?
Yeah, they definitely want to know about water. Do they need water? Why do they need water? Is it important? Is it required when patching?
Abso-freaking-lutely. So here's what I've told people for 4.5 years now. When you have a bunch of zombie cells and your body can't get rid of them, because, you know, this is part of my structure over here, even though they're just not really doing anything, but they're kind of holding things together. And now all of a sudden you have this increase in your own stem cells. Your body says, I can get rid of all those guys over there and all those guys over there. And now you have to deal with the debris. It's like you buy a view lot on top of a hill. You're not going to live in the 100-year-old house. You're going to tear it down first and build a nice house. So that's going to get really dusty. And you're going to need to have the water truck come out and spray the ground so to get rid of the dust. It's kind of an analogy, but you have to have more fluid to push that stuff through the system and recycle it. Otherwise, you might have some stoppages in the flow and then feel kind of crummy. People always ask me, what do you recommend for that? Well, more water. If you can get on a shaker plate and get it through your lymphatic system, that's good. A power vibe, those go really fast, or just kind of a wobble thing, that helps. So water is really, really important in that process, but so is getting copper.
Yep, they were asking about copper too. That was my second thing.
Okay.
I like dark chocolate. I'm not eating liver.
I love dark chocolate. I separated my Halloween candy out into chocolate and non-chocolate, and then I traded away the non-chocolate for chocolate. Yes, chocolate has some copper, green leafy vegetables, nuts and seeds, seafood, organ meats, other similar things. You can, if you don't have a really good diet, a dropper full of chlorophyll, you get plenty of copper. And that's a natural way. There's lots of organic chlorophyll, or companies that make organic chlorophyll on Amazon. Pretty soon, we're not going to need to send people to Amazon, because we're going to have our own supplement that supports all that.
Oh, the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. Wow. So thank you so much, Dr. Harmon. Can you believe that hour flew by? That was incredible. My text messages, the messages in the chat, that was absolutely stellar information. Thank you so much for putting all of that together for our entire community of LifeWave. Of course, this will be put on the YouTube channel. Dr. Harmon, I'll send you the raw version, of course, so you can do what you want on your channel. But this is going to be such a fantastic tool to help our brand partners. And like you said, to help educate people that want more information, that nitty gritty. That was incredible. I appreciate you taking the time, the energy, and effort to pour. I know we had right at almost 700 at one point here on this Zoom, and we'll have tens of thousands that'll watch the replay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, I hope it makes a difference in everyone's knowledge base, yes, and ability to share it with those people who have something they don't even know that they're going to die from.
Yes, and if you have not purchased these books, grab these books off of Amazon. They are game changers. They will help you. They are easy to read and understand, and they will help you understand the power of what these patches can do and what your own body can do to help get you into balance and help you to reverse age on the inside. As Dr. Harmon said, he's 70. Look at this man. I just spent
Woo,
2 weeks
woo,
with him
woo.
in Greece and he's rocking it up out there on the dance floor.
I was waiting for the karaoke to start, but it was way too late though. They
Oh,
like it
right.
started at 11 there on the ship, you know what I mean?
They go all night. I know. I love it. Well, thank you, Dr. Harmon. I appreciate you again and
My
so
pleasure,
grateful.
Stacy. Thank you.
So grateful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic evening.